Hello out there! Welcome, everybody. Hello, hello. I have a special guest with me today. I have Gareth. Say hi, Gareth. How's everything going?
Hello, everybody.
And I know you are all here and super excited for the short story challenge 2024. It's hard to believe it's been a whole year since the last one. Where did the time go? We, of course, love doing these challenges here at AutoCrit because it's our goal to get you writing. That's ultimately what we want to do. We want to help you become better writers. We want to give you motivation for writing. For those of you who are new to us here at AutoCrit, we really are a complete home for writers. We have our fully functional writer's desk, which has a whole suite of tools that help you plan and perfect and publish your writing. We have our online community. We have our academy page where Gareth and myself and others teach classes and workshops about writing. So, yeah, it's all about writing. And for this month, it's all about writing specifically short story challenge. If you haven't had a chance, last week I went through some of the uh, comments that we've had from people that have taken these challenges because it's really inspirational to see how these challenges have motivated them as artists, have encouraged them, and we can speak to the fact that we've had people participate in these challenges, get that motivation, get that boost, and have gone on to be published and get their work out there. So it's really, really fun and exciting. So it's very simple to get involved in the short story challenge. It is free to sign up. We'll be posting that link in the chat. I have a link right here you can look up as well. Yeah, there is no cost to join us. We do, of course, have membership levels here at AutoCrypt, but you do not have to be a subscribed member to be involved in the short story challenge. And not only does signing up grant you the ability to be involved in the challenge and will give you access to things like the writer's desk, which we'll talk about in a bit. It also will, of course, make you eligible for some great prizes. Yes, we're going to have some prizes simply for being involved. We love the fact that you have agreed to write. Again, we're trying to motivate you to get your behind in the chair, hands on, what do they say, button chair, hands on keyboard, right? And anything we can do. So prizes, we'll have a whole collection of prizes from critiques to some workshop sessions and classes and different things to give you to help your writing path as well. That will be part of this challenge. And the ultimate prize, I don't know, Gareth, do you want to tell them about the ultimate prize for the winners in this challenge?
Yeah, so well, it's been fairly cool each year. Just
It
an
really
idea
has.
that we had all those years ago. At this point, it's been so long.
So long.
Was why don't we? So we have actual judges, including the team and some other people, and we pick we go through essentially a full-on submission process. So this is consider it kind of role playing, as though you are submitting short stories, because we want you guys to all get into the kind of rhythm of that as well. Make it part of your core personage as a writer. If you're writing short stories, you want to sell them, and part of that means following the process, following the submission guidelines, etc., of publishers that you're going to be trying to sell those stories to. So we kind of take on that role in a play sense at the end of the challenge. So if you so wish, you can submit the short story that you wrote as part of the challenge. We will go through judging and pick. Usually we try to focus on 10 finalists, but it depends on word count. Sometimes if a couple are very short, then we can fit another couple in. But we try to find around 10 stories to physically print as part of a trophy anthology. And now we call it a trophy because you get printed in there. It's not tied to an official ISBN. It doesn't actually count as that story having been sold or published, because we want you to take it elsewhere and sell it, for money and get published somewhere. So, but we do that. And this is only given to the authors who are included inside of it. So it is very collectible. That's why we call it a trophy. It's literally just for the final lot. That's just for ease of use, say the final 10. It's only for the final 10. Nobody else gets to see it. It's not going up on sale. We don't take any rights. It's like we take the right to publish it that once, of course, but everybody keeps the copyright to everything that they print, as you should. So fingers crossed. If you want to submit, we'll see your work at the end. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you for that, by the way, Ryan. You have excellent taste, but unfortunately, it'll be blind judging for this, so it's not going to benefit you for the actual challenge.
You're not going to be able to curry favor with the shirts.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's really cool. It's so much fun being part of this process because I've often been part of the judging panel, and I can tell you this is a challenge. It is a challenge for all of you. It is a challenge for us too. We do take this seriously, as much as at the end of this, what we have is a trophy anthology. Like Gareth said, we're not literally publishing it. We're not trying to sell it or things like that. We do take it seriously as if we were, because we want to give you that experience. We want you to feel like you have gone through that level of process. And like I said, we've had people go through these challenges and get that vote of confidence, maybe make some adjustments after the challenge, and actually submit and be published elsewhere. And that's what we love to see. We love to be that stepping stone to a greater career. So somebody's asking about the guidelines. Before I talk about that, I do want to reiterate that when you sign up for the challenge, you will become a free member at Autocrit. So congratulations, everybody. Welcome. You are part of the team. And that does give you access to the writer's desk. Now, the writer's desk is a whole suite of different tools. You can type up your manuscript just basically, but you can get inspiration from our inspiration studio. We have a story builder, which can help you if you're stuck on ideas. We have a whole analyzer. We'll talk more about some of those tools a little bit later. And as a free member, you won't have access to all of those tools, but you will have access to the main writer's desk. And it is through the writer's desk that you will ultimately submit your piece. And so if you are to sign up here on, wait, where did my screen go here? I had it. Hold on. If you are to sign up here, I think I closed my window. There it is, right? If you are to sign up in the hub, the main part of Autocrit, you will see immediately you have some options here to get into the writer's desk. If you have a work in progress, you can always hit the upload file. Let me move myself over here. We'll talk and head there. Upload file, or you can go to a blank document, start from scratch, just immediately begin writing your file within the Autocrit writer's desk. It's up to you. Ultimately, though, you will need to submit through it. So I wanted to show you how to get into that. And of course, we'll remind you as we go. But that is, of course, part of some of the rules of the game, right? We do take this seriously. And so these are, in fact, rules. This is not Pirates of the Caribbean, right? They're more like guidelines. No. Please treat these as actual. Please treat these as actual rules. And to be perfectly honest, it's not like we want to create all these crazy rules and make you jump through. You'll see, it's not very complicated. But one of the reasons why we want to take it seriously and not bend is certainly to make it fair for everybody. Because, we want to take this seriously, but also we want you to take your career seriously, and we want you to take these sort of opportunities seriously. And when it comes to publishing in an anthology, you're going to have to follow those rules to a T, or you will be disqualified, because there's a lot of people interested in doing exactly this, right? In getting their work published. So please take these seriously. That's all I'm going to say. And you might be like, I got you, Daniel. I know, and but but Gareth can tell you, we've had some very interesting entries over the years. So not everybody does. So please listen. If you ever do have any questions, feel free to ask, but I do think you'll find they're fairly straightforward and it's not too complicated. It does, of course, need to tie into the official theme. And what is this official theme, you might ask? I'm not going to tell you right now. Are you kidding? That would be way too easy. Okay.
I would say in the meantime, see if you can
right.
guess it in the chat.
Anybody who knows me knows I like a good tease, right? We do ask that the theme is narrative. No, we do ask that everything that you write is in a narrative form. All right. That's pretty straightforward in terms of telling a story, beginning, middle, a whole, maybe not an end necessarily. That's not, you can have an ambiguous ending. There are short stories that are successful with that, but we should have a clear idea of action happening. Please don't submit recipes or self help, and you might be laughing, but I'm telling you, we've gotten some interesting submissions over the years. If you're writing in nonfiction, uh, keep in mind it does need to be a narrative. So if it's just a objective article about, I don't know, an event, unless it's really set in a narrative sort of framing, no, like just a chronology of something, that's not really going to apply. Do you have anything to add to this, Gareth, before I move on?
No, I think it's fair. I would say as well is we also want you to think outside the box as much as possible. It's a creative exercise. So even though you have like a straightforward narrative to go with here, form is something you can play with. I always like to see stories that are unconventional in that sense. A series of text messages or direct messages, that I can follow back and forth that kind of get you involved in a story like that. It's still narrative, but the form is unconventional. That kind of stuff will be absolutely fine. So play with it in your mind. There's plenty of time to kind of think about it and mold it. But if you want to kind of step outside the box a little bit and just be not so straightforward in terms of prose, have at it. Be our guest.
And surprisingly enough, that's my next one. Great job, Gareth. Experimental writing forms are acceptable and even encouraged, right? We've already had somebody ask us about poetry. Yeah, if you want to, one nice thing about the short story form is that it does allow you to have some fun, do some different things that you wouldn't be able to sustain for 60, 70,000 words, right? Up to 5,000 words, little spoiler alert. Yeah, you could do that. Now, if that's not you, if you're like, I just like writing standard prose, it's not going to hold you back. And if you do write in an experimental writing form, keep in mind quality, matters. Gimmicks are interesting, but you've got to pay them off. And so if that's not really where you're at right now, don't worry about it. You can write in a more straightforward manner. But if you want to try to stand out, do something a little bit different, feel free to have some fun with it, right? And keep in mind, you're going to have about a month to put this together, so you'll have some play. Don't necessarily settle for your first idea. Don't necessarily submit your first idea, right? Feel free to experiment, try some different things out. Maybe you'll end the month with a few different short stories. You'll have to kind of shop, which one you want to submit. That's fine, right? That it's all about getting some artistic expression out there. But yes, as I kind of spoiled, no more than 5,000 words. Now, we do want to be strict about this, right? So people ask, well, what about 5,001? And what about 5,002? Or something like that. You just have to set a standard, right? Is it because there's some artistically amazing reason why 5,000 words or less matters? No, but we just want to make it fair for everybody, right? If we allowed some people to get 5,003 words and other people were tearing their hair out to get to 4,999, it's not particularly fair to those people, right? So do stick to this. This is something that we will look for. And unfortunately, if you want a little trick, if you're like inside trick, this does eliminate a lot of people off the bat, surprisingly enough. So if you follow this, you're already going to pass some cuts. I would love that not to be the case this year. I'd love everybody to follow it and not be able to eliminate anybody on this rule. But I don't, unfortunately, human nature being what it is, I don't expect that will happen. So anything you want to say, Gareth?
No, that's it. I think the minimum side as well. We want to have a minimum of 1,000. So you've got kind of a window of 1,000 to 5K, just so we don't lean too far into flash fiction. So there will be a minimum of 1K, maximum of 5K, but it's going to be hard limits on either side. We will not allow wriggle room there.
Yep. Oh, I remember this one, the eulogy. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. You can see exactly. That's to the point. And somebody was asking, yes, this is going to be available later. So for any of you who are watching, like on your lunch break, Yay, happy. But if you need to get back to work, don't worry. You can always watch the replay a little bit later. Somebody was asking about font and spacing. Do we have any specific concerns about font or spacing, Gareth, that we want to share?
Not particularly. I mean, preferably Times New Roman size 12 is kind of standard, but we will be, for ease of use this year. Previously, we had forms where you would just like upload files, and that sort of knocked a lot of people out of the running as well because we had to explicitly say upload as a text or a docx, Word document, and people would upload PDFs, which immediately got you eliminated because that's not part of the guidelines.
Yep.
However, this time around, we'll be taking the submissions, like Daniel said earlier, right inside the AutoCrit Writer's Desk, which just conforms everything for us pretty much. So
Mm-hmm.
we're going to take that formatting stuff off the table for you. If it's submitted through the Writer's Desk, it'll be fine.
Exactly. There's not any really weird fonts in there. There's some that are a little bit harder to read. They're more for titles, but and do keep in mind making those sort of choices can affect the reading experience negatively because it can make it seem like you're trying a little bit hard to stand out, right? And your writing should stand out, not the formatting. All right, let's move on here.
Ooh, there's a quickie there because it is connected. And does the title count towards the word count?
Ooh,
No,
yes,
it
that's
does
a good
not.
question. It does not. No. Keep in mind, again, you're submitting through the writer's desk. And so you can just save the file with the title. You don't even have to have it in the document itself, and we will know what the title is. Sharon is being a very disruptive person like normal. I love you, Sharon, but why? Why would you do that to us? Oh, dear. All right. No illustrations. And what I mean by that is not that you can't give an illustration in text, like you can't explain something. I mean, you don't have pictures or fancy dinkuses or things like that. We will have to strip those out when we print anyway, and we would not include them in the judging. And so it just takes our time to eliminate them. And particularly if they're going to matter to the story, then we'll probably just disregard the piece because it does not apply to this specific challenge. So feel free. You cannot use papyrus because it is not in the writer's desk. And as far as I'm concerned, it never will be. Okay, let's move on. Creative guidelines. Generally, we do not care. All right. We love creativity around here. We want you to be expressive in the manner that you want to discuss what it is that you care to. Any genre is acceptable. We often get that. Now, I know that you might be thinking, it's like, well, I know that Gareth is really into horror. And I know that Daniel is not into horror. I know we do have a variety of people that are going to be looking over these entries. And keep in mind, when it comes to Gareth or myself, we do try to look at quality, not do I personally like this, as in, would this be something I would personally read? Because it's our goal to motivate artists who are successful artists, not necessarily to motivate people who would become our favorite writer, if that makes sense. I don't know, Gareth, if you have anything specific you'd like to add to this.
No, that's about it. I think I have been certainly in as part of the judging over the past few years, instrumental in making the final choice on some things that I guess some of the people who know us would never assume I would read. But you clearly understand you have to be objective as a judge, and you figure out whether just is it good. Does it boil down to that? So yeah, there will be no all genres, whatever you like to write, and they will be treated fairly.
I love this. I won with a horror story a couple years ago and took pride in the fact it made Daniel uncomfortable. It's fine. I understand my limitations. I've almost passed out a few times reading some of the work that goes through Garrett's hands, but it's okay. It's a whatever you want to say. It's a part of the job. It's a danger of the job. All right. But there are some things in terms of content that we are looking to avoid. And there's various reasons for that. So no sexual violence, please. One of the reasons for this is because people do like to lean on this for the sake of drama. And we as a whole panel are just not particularly interested in that. I think it's a fairly reasonable thing to suggest. Particularly things like rape get tossed around a lot, and as much as we're not going to judge people who write about such things in other capacities. For the sake of this challenge, we'd like to avoid that. All right. Gareth, you feel free to chime in whatever you'd like on this. And then on that same thing, no sexual activity with minors under the age of 18. Keep in mind, even though we're not publishing this, we are going to be printing this. And so there are various reasons why we would not want such. Okay. Um, and no incest or other extreme sexual content. Somebody mentioned erotic. At a certain level, I would say that's okay. I don't. Maybe Gareth, you could tell me a little bit better about what you think where that line sort of is, right?
Yeah,
Because we're
some of
not
these things
saying you
do.
can't have any sex at all, of course, but
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think to a degree, sex, violence. I'm kind of writing out a written form of the rules here, so everybody gets them written as well afterwards. But sex, violence, vulgarity, kind of the way I would put it. You can drop f bombs and whatever you want if it fits the character. But it's if it's on that line of vulgarity, if a story kind of reads like a really shoddy attempt at a Tarantino script that just doesn't quite work, then it's probably going to be uh, disqualified simply because it doesn't quite work. If you get what I mean, that kind of thing can be difficult to play with. So yeah, all of these things are all good in terms of their inclusion, but none of it should come across as particularly kind of over the top or exploitative. And that goes for both sex and violence. And erotic, I see Velva mentioning that. Yeah, erotic can imply seduction, something that feels just erotic, like an energy in the
right,
story. Absolutely fine,
of
not a
course,
problem
right,
whatsoever. Um, so yes, S Greg, yeah, I kind of mentioned it there. You can get you can go kind of R rated, but we're not talking X rated and
yeah,
the kind of unrated versions where
right.
per Daniel has to sit and read about body parts and guts hanging from ceilings and everything in really grotesque detail. We're just trying to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah. No, 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 not no vulgarity. We're not saying that. Particularly if it fits the character, just
Oh yeah,
be cautious because, it's not about going there. It's not about like, ooh, I can write this. Trust us. We've read some edgy stuff. We're not going to be impressed with edginess just for the sake of edginess, right? But if it does fit the character, then yes, that's not against the rules. Unlike some of the other challenges, these are not going to be read online, right? We're not going to do a public reading of them. For one, they are too long, but also that might constitute a publication in some people's minds, right? And we don't want to own these works. We want you to give them back to you and let them you do with them what you want. We will announce them at some point and give you a little bit of information about them. And of course, anybody is welcome to share it themselves. It's your work, but we're not going to be reading them on YouTube. And so therefore, you don't have to think in the same way that you might for some of the other challenges where it's like, okay, but he's not going to read that on YouTube. No, no, no. It's not necessarily like that. Yeah, think there is a difference between R-rated, you could call it steamy romance, and things that really move into the true erotic side of things. There's some wiggle room there. I understand. If you have any specific questions about it in your specific work, feel free to ask us, right? I wouldn't want you to end up with a problem with something like that.
yeah, that would be my recommendation. If there's anything that you think may just be too much, because kind of saying something is too much is fairly subjective at the end of the day, with sensibilities and what people can handle. If anything, just you're not sure of, pop us a message. Just go on the website, pop us a little thing, and say, "Hey, I've got this thing that would happen in my story. Is that too much?" And we can give you an honest response. Kind of written in my guidelines here, you'll see later on too, is we don't bite. I'm never going to
No,
wag a finger at you or
no,
anything like that.
no,
So
no,
don't
no, 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 no. It's none of that. No. And like I said, we've read some edgy stuff, so it's not like, oh, how dare you? It's not like that. That's not a reaction. Um, Fan fiction. Again, because I know we're not officially selling this, but we are printing it, and we're not going to, as a company, print things with other people's intellectual property. So for that reason, no. But keep in mind, when it comes to fan fiction, uh, a lot of times fan fiction can be the inspiration for something else. So if you're typically a fan fiction writer, there's no I welcome to the group. What I would recommend you to do is take your love of that, shift it, move it, transform it, make it your own. Take it out of the intellectual property realm into a fair use adaptation of it through adjustments, make it your own, right? Take those characters and change major things about them that you think would benefit them. I guess I'm kind of beckoning you to get a little more yourself into this challenge, right? It's wonderful that somebody who typically writes fan fiction wants to get involved. I just for to be eligible for this challenge, you're going to have to break from your comfort zone a little bit, but please do so. Please do so. Plenty of people have transitioned incredibly successfully from fan fiction
Yeah,
to
I was going to say, and I
their
think
own work.
Sharon got it there. Kind of 50 Shades of Grey. We all know where that
Some people
started.
call it filing off the serial numbers.
Yeah,
It's like
there's little wrong with doing that. If that's where you want to head in that direction, fine. But of course, it should not be using the characters, etc., etc., that are external intellectual property. Because to quote the old, the Simpsons, the Shinning episode, it's like, "Do you want to get sued?" Your response to him, "No, rather not." So. Yeah, that's kind of the take on fan fiction. I was legitimately sitting here on mute, just laughing. Christina, no 9.5 weeks fan fiction. That cracked me up. Yeah, no.
It's like a summary of all the rules all in one. I like it. Oh, that's good. Okay. You do need to submit by the end of the month, May 31st. We'll of course keep giving you reminders about that. But yeah, I mean that's pretty straightforward. You have a fair amount of time to do it. So we'll be on for the next 3 weeks, updating you, giving you some tips and tricks about writing in general. And by the end of that run, we'll have submissions open and you'll be able to submit through the writer's desk. Again, I will show you how to do all of that. Um, and yeah, and of course, it will be a hard deadline because, again, people are going to have their work ready and submit it. And so, as much as it pains us when somebody's like, I missed it by a couple hours, unfortunately, we do have to set a deadline and we do have to stick to it just for the fairness of everybody else. Can you put Daniel and Gareth in my story? I'm not going to speak on behalf of Gareth, but I am more than happy to have somebody write about me. So I will say yes, but Gareth can stay
Yes,
on the
you have
list.
my
Okay.
permission as well.
As long as I die in a graphically horrible way, that makes me uncomfortable. That's my rule. No, I'm kidding. It reminds me of the movie Godzilla, where they have characters that are like Roger and Ebert, because they were constantly uh, criticize that director's work, like they criticize Independence Day really badly and stuff. So he put them, and then they were mad because like they didn't even have Godzilla kill us in some terrible way. Like, what was he doing? Like they were like offended that he'd put them in the movie and they didn't even do anything fun with them. No points for including me in your story. No. Daniel and Beats. Somebody is reaching into the inside jokes around here. If you want to know about Daniel and Beats, well, you'll have to go back and look at the archives. But that's the kind of community we have, right? We have our little inside jokes.
This
We
is
have things like this. This
the
is a great
ancient
question,
lore at this point.
right? It's like Doctor Who. It's like try to get involved. It's deep, deep lore. Will you be throwing us a curveball? No. Typically in our challenges we like to do this because it creates some it creates some intrigue. For this one, the challenge is that professionalism, right? It's that we want highly polished works. And so for us to give you curveballs would perhaps interrupt such things, right? It would hinder your ability because you'd have to just be limber. Now, obviously, sometimes weird twists can create some fantastic creative results. I'm not saying it doesn't, but for the purpose of this, we really want to give you a fairly open field to show your stuff, and we want to see it. So, Yes. I owe you a mushroom people story. I do. Wow. These people have memory of an elephant. Anything about that, Gareth, twists or anything like that? Nope, we're not
No,
doing
I think
anything like that.
that's fair. It's no, there will be no big twist. This isn't Destination Unknown, our twisty turny challenge. This is fairly straightforward. And like Daniel says, it's because we're looking for as kind of wide. When you're a lot of the work in building an anthology as well is everything can't be too samey, but you're also leaning into a theme. So that's part of the challenge on our end too, is trying to get a nice variety of stories so that the winners, when they have their copies, can enjoy it as though it were a fully professionally published anthology. So we keep that in mind. We want to leave the doors as open as possible for just all your creativity to take over.
Exactly. And speaking for the team, we've always been very impressed with what we've gotten and the variety. And if you'd like to see more of that, you can always look on this channel and go back where we've announced the winners of the other challenges, and you can see the wide variety of winners. Somebody was mentioning it was a eulogy. We've had sci-fi, we've had horror, we've had romance, we've had women's fiction. We've had all different kinds of things for sure. And yes, Catherine is nicely saying, we do ask that you do not wait until the last minute. I understand as writers, we all do that. Trust me, I understand we all do that. But keep in mind that last minute, something could happen. Your computer could run out of power, your city could run out of power. Who knows, right? Like, don't wait until the last minute. You do have a whole lot of time. We're starting this on May 7th. You have until the 31st. You do have enough time. I'm not trying to like guilt you, but maybe a little bit. You have enough time that you do not have to wait until the literal 11th hour and 59 minutes to submit. And please do not. I love this. It doesn't matter how many times you say get it early. I'm still revising to the last day. And keep that in mind as well. When you submit, you submit. And you're only allowed to submit once. We don't want somebody who is a fantastically quick writer blitzing and submitting a whole bunch of entries. We do not want to be confused as to which version of a specific story. So it's one and done. So please do not hit the submit button. You can't right now, so don't panic. It's not there. We're not even letting you do that. Once we open that submit button, please do not submit and be like, oh, wait, I needed to change something. It's done. All right. So keep that in mind. Somebody was asking about literary fiction. Yes, we've had literary fiction in the final. As you know, that's a little bit of a tricky category to specify, but I would say yes. There is not a minimum or maximum page length. It is a word count. We're not concerned with how your paragraphs are laid out or things like that. We will handle all of that for the purpose of the trophy publication at the end. You've had the power go off. See? Exactly. All right. So do we have any do you have anything else you'd like to add, Gareth,
Did
before
have a quick
we
question just to answer there.
yeah.
If narrative means no dialogue, no, it does not mean no dialogue. Dialogue is a part of narrative storytelling. So yes, if you want dialogue in there, that's absolutely fine.
But if you're asking whether or not you'd have to include dialogue, the answer is no.
Also no.
Yeah. So either. So I'm not entirely sure the question there, but either. So if you want to have it could be a piece of somebody solo out in the woods or something like that, and they're just thinking to themselves, and they're not talking to anybody else. Fair enough. That might be hard to sustain for that long, but that's up to you. All right. So
I think
keep in
just
mind
to
it
interrupt you
does.
one sec, Daniel.
Oh yes, yes,
I think
yes.
just to cover a bit of a base on top of that as well is in terms of the form, whether you use first person, third person, past tense, present tense. That's all yours to decide as well. There's no stipulation there about that.
That is correct. Right. If you were selected in previous years, you are allowed to participate. Correct. Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jennifer, feel free to replay what we have here, but just quickly, in terms of categories, genres, all genres are acceptable. There's a few rules in terms of extreme content, but that's pretty much it for the content itself, besides the word count. All right, so yes, of course, it does need to tie into this official theme. But I'm not going to talk about the official theme just yet. I want to talk about the short story lab. I know this is your last tease, everybody. Okay,
It just gets meaner and meaner with you.
I know, but it's too much fun. Like when you have something to want to reveal, you gotta hold it out. So we do have a short story lab that begins tonight. You are under no obligation to join the short story lab in order to be part of the short story challenge. The reason we're hosting the lab is because we often have writers that come into the short story challenge, and they're like, I don't know how to write a short story. I would love to be involved, but why? But. So the short story lab is an opportunity to join me for the next 4 weeks during this challenge and learn about writing short stories and experiment and have fun. Perhaps it could help you brainstorm something to even submit for the challenge. It's really up to you. Now, keep in mind, the finalists for the short story challenge is all going to be blind, and it is going to be a panel of judging. So don't assume that because you're in the lab, you're going to like get some sort of fast pass or fast track to finalists. That's not the purpose of the lab. The purpose of the lab is to help any author who is either wanting to refine their short story experience or writing skills, or maybe is brand new to it. They're new to this art form and things like that. It's not only me though. There's a lot of content in there from a fantastic writer, Rain Hall. Maybe you've seen her on this channel before, but there's a lot of great tips on there as well. Writer of the Writer's Craft series. All right. And let me go ahead and throw that link there in case you want to join us for that. Short Story Lab really helped you last year. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, fantastic. Okay. So, I think without further ado, we should. Yes, I'm actually going to reveal it this time. We're going to reveal the full picture. Maybe you've been seeing it kind of slowly get unveiled over time. I'm going to go ahead and reveal it for you. And in case you haven't figured it out, the theme this year is racing, the activity of racing. Now, and Gareth will be on in just a minute to explain this, but I'm going to jump the gun a little bit and tell you that you do not have to take this in the most literal, specific way possible. Remember, there are multiple things involved in racing. Racing can be an official competition where people are trying to outcompete each other. It could be two individuals attempting to get the same thing done, and somebody is trying to beat the other person, right? Uh, Maybe you could even think of other abstract interpretations of it. The reason why we're giving you the theme of racing is not to try to put you into a box. It's simply to give you a little bit of a challenge in terms of something to think about. And also, the whole goal of this is to literally write something during this time frame, right? And so by making it racing, our hope is that, yes, indeed, you are starting to write now. Obviously, we wouldn't know one way or the other, but you know, whatever you want to say, honor system, right? Everybody's starting to write now, and you're going to write something in the theme of racing. All right, Gareth, I know you love to talk about abstractions. Feel free. Feel free
I,
to go hog wild.
I think you've kind of done well on that one there. The just the theme of racing, and yes, such a variety. I can see some comments there about people kind of. I was watching in the community and seeing people kind of latch on to the idea of planes. It's like plane or travel, but it's been fun, kind of gradually revealing this. But all sorts, your story should center around the theme of a race. Now, theme is an interesting thing because it doesn't necessarily have to be like a relay race. It should be obviously a competition to a destination kind of thing going on within the story, but there are so many ways to approach that. You have kind of in the image bicycle races, car races, plane racing. But there's also just scenarios of, for example, a race against time. You have to get somewhere before the clock runs out, kind of thing. There's also two individual. Well, if you went full fantasy, you have like dragon racing and things like that. And also, like what I like to say here is like two people, Rick, the rat race. Yeah, there's always competition involved, but two people racing across a city to kind of, let's say it was a romance thing, whatever, and you have two people who are trying to get to the same jewelers to claim that ring before it goes, and they're in a sort of head-to-head competition. So all sorts of ways it can work in, but it's going to be a competition with a finite deadline. It's like you need to be the winner in this to get through it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Obviously, you could take the racing verb in a very abstract way, just like something moving quickly or something like that. But for the purpose of this theme, we are really referring to the idea of two individuals or multiple individuals out competing one another, trying to do something quickly or efficiently in order to best the other person. That's really the intended purpose of it. But that still gives you a lot of wiggle room as to what, in fact, that could be. So, certainly am looking forward to all of those different possibilities. And feel free to ask us any other questions we have. I know your mind is racing itself, and you're ready to get to the keyboard, and that's exactly why we do these challenges. But we'll stay on for just a bit here to answer any other questions. I do want to put on, just in case you're joining us later and you're like, what is even going on? This is the short story writing challenge. We're tasking everybody to write a short story about racing, which can be taken in an abstract way. You can sign up below for free. You will be given until the end of the month, May 31st, to submit. You may submit a story between 1,000 and 5,000 words. And generally, everything is acceptable besides some extreme content, which we described earlier. If you do have any questions about that, you can always ask us as well. But essentially, we're just looking for no sexual violence or sexual acts on minors, extreme sort of things. All right. Are there any other questions here? Does it need to be two individuals or can it be a race? No, that would count. In a situation like that, often the bomb might get personified by the author a little bit, right? Because it's essentially like the big obstacle. So even though it's not technically an individual, as a snobby editor, I might say that they're kind of an individual, but yes, it would work.
Yeah, that would be a race against time. I think Bruce has it there. But
Yeah.
technically speaking, in a race like that, the other person taking part in that race would be, not to say there could only be two people, but the person who set the bomb. If they get to the end of that timer, then they have won, versus the person who's trying to get there.
It doesn't seem too abstract if it does require two or more individuals. Yeah, I mean, sure. If you have other suggestions, feel free to go for it. We generally don't, to be honest, in terms of like disqualifying over the theme, that's not something we've typically had to do almost ever. So go for it. I'm willing to tell you that. I don't know.
Yeah,
What
it
do you
is.
think
It
there?
is very rare that stories are actually shaved for not adhering to theme.
Hmm. Somebody was asking, it's judged on quality in a very entertaining story, higher quality. No, um, it's not a matter of like entertaining and like in the classic like whatever you want to say airplane novel sense where I'm just ripping through the page. Certainly something that takes its time and is just well written, is eloquent about something simple, which you may not call entertaining, but thought provoking, provocative, something like that. Absolutely, that would be considered high quality as well. A lot of our authors are in genre fiction because that's where a lot of writing is and a lot of readership is. But no, we're willing to look at other things, and I certainly love well written pieces of all sorts. So, all right, a metaphorical race. Yeah, I would think that might be all right. Sure. Like I said, feel free to go for it. Don't be bound too much by the theme. The purpose of the theme is to give you a direction. And again, it's to encourage that everybody is actually writing it during this time frame because that is the intended purpose of this challenge. You're enjoying these challenges, great. We love them as well. And what I particularly love about them is what they do for the authors and for the community, which is get everyone motivated, and we get to see everyone's creative work, and we get to support one another. And, it's hard to get much better than that. There will not be any twists, but I can understand, Tony, why you would ask such a question because we've had them in the past. So, no twists this time. This is about fine tuning and polishing your work as best as possible. You have found this is a nice way to learn how to write. There you go. That's our intended purpose. So fantastic. All right. Do you have anything else, Gareth, before we wrap things up here?
No, I think we're about covered. I could see a question about here we are, no extreme acts of violence. What about horror themes? What is too extreme? Now we kind of covered that. Horror is absolutely fine. I'm a horror writer myself. I have a thick skin and strong stomach for the kind of stuff that can happen there. But if anything, in your own mind feels like you may be entering too extreme an area, there's nothing wrong with, you'll see this in a lot of submission calls as well, as kind of query us if you're not sure, which in this case, just bring it up. If you pop over to the AutoCrit website, there's a little chat button in the bottom corner, and that goes to the team, whatever you say there. So if there's anything that you are worried about, just send us a message and say, hey guys, is this too much? And we can give you a frank answer. And Jade, with the description of violence, Slider, is that not like an aftermath? Yeah, that would generally be fine.
Yep. Um, and somebody was asking, how do we submit? Again, we're going to do that through the writer's desk. We'll lead you through that process as we continue into it. If you watch the beginning of the video, you can see a look at the writer's desk. Everybody does have access to the writer's desk for this challenge. Somebody's asking about submitting. Currently, submissions are not open in the writer's desk, but in order to enter the writer's desk, when you sign into autocrit.com, you'll be led to this hub page, and you can go ahead and hit the blank document and get started writing your work. Now, if you decide that you would like to upgrade to a pro account, you could go into the new story builder idea and start brainstorming your story or outlining your story through all the tools that we have in there as well. So lots available for you in the writer's desk, but everybody does have access to the free version, which allows you into the blank document and will allow you to go ahead and submit later on. Oops, made myself disappear. All right.
Yeah, same thing there, Gary. We'll have as the weeks go on and we get to that submission period, we'll have a full walkthrough and guidance, and make sure you get an email with screenshots and stuff like that. So it's not complicated.
The B's and E's. I love that. Is the short story class uploaded somewhere? That's a great question. It will be evenings, Tuesday evenings at 6 p.m. at Eastern Time. However, if you sign up for it, you can watch the replay anytime you wish, including after the whole class is over and you just want to go back through it. The Short Story Lab has a whole series of exercises designed to get you thinking and fine tuning your ideas, and is worth exploring multiple times, as just a process to do. So, sure, yeah, you'll have access to that for the recordings and indefinitely, for sure. All right. Now, speaking of other pro member events, we do have our club sessions. We'll have one tonight at 7 p.m. We have one tomorrow at 6 p.m. Right, Gareth? We have one with you tomorrow.
We do, yes. It is
Yep.
Hookham returns.
What was that?
The return of Hookham.
Oh yes, hook 'em live. Yeah, so Gareth will be on to review the first line. So that is something that's available to anybody at the pro member level. It is a just an event that's included in the membership, and we have a lot of those throughout the week. You can always find those if you're newer to AutoCrit because of all this. You can find your little handy dandy little guide over here. And in fact, in about 10 minutes or so, I will be online for our weekly office hours, which we do to just help everybody learn how to use the writer's desk more efficiently and things like that. So we'll see some of you there. Hook 'em is fire. Yes. Love being a lifer pro. Oh yes, we did not specifically say how many winners there are going to be. It does vary based on the word count. So I understand. So you know we have 1,000 to 5,000 words, but we will vary based on that to a certain extent. But we generally have stuck to 10 as the end.
Yeah, it's generally been 10. We try to hit so that the published book has a fairly substantial feel in the hand, for those who get it. You don't want a little pamphlet kind of thing because it just doesn't feel as impressive. So we try to get around 40K, 40 to 50K sort of limit, so it feels like a decently sized novel. And sometimes that means shifting from 10 to maybe 11 or 12 to get that word count out. So could be more, could be less, but that's kind of the word count that we aim for rather than a particular number.
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to this channel for more updates. For those of you who sign up, you also will get email updates with links to things like this YouTube stream and things like that. Excited to get started. I certainly am excited to hear all of your works. Oh, Rick, I just had you in class earlier today. That's awesome. So yes, so happy to have all of you here. Thank you, Gareth, for joining me. We're really looking forward to everybody participating in this challenge. You have a wonderful day. Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.